Hey everyone, it's Lisa and Kathy.
Hi.
From Primitive Gatherings, back with another great video on how to finish your stitched projects.
Right.
Okay, so Kathy is really awesome at going the extra mile, at little extra details, making some of these things really unique. So she's going to share all of her tips and tricks today on how to do this.
Okay.
All right, let's go for it.
So what we're going to do today, we'll learn how to lace a piece, and that can be either a wool piece that you've stitched on with a fabric background, or it can be a cross-stitch piece like this. And today I'm going to lace this piece and show you how to make it into a flat fold, which is an item like this, where it's like a little book that stands up. And it's a great, inexpensive way to finish your pieces, you know, and especially for seasonal pieces, it's great because then when you've had it out for a month or whatever, you can just it's
fold
flat
it up and stack it and store it.
Yep, easy storage. So I like to finish things a lot with these flat folds.
Yeah, they're really unique too.
Yeah, and you need to learn how to lace your piece before you can make a flat fold out of it. So we'll cover that first, and then we'll cover pinning. And I'm going to do that on a cross-stitch piece, although that could be done on a wool applique piece too, or just a fabric.
So how do you decide whether you lace or pin?
Well, the mat board that you use to lace is really thin. It's only maybe probably a 1/16 of an inch thick. So I use that when I'm going to lace because it lays flatter. And then the foam board, which I'll show you later for pinning, is about 1/4 of an inch thick. So that's really better to put in a frame. If you did it on one of these, it would be awfully thick.
So you mean like this stuff?
Yes.
Okay.
That's
All
foam
right.
core.
So that is for pinning.
Right.
Okay. All right.
So let's get started. What you need is your stitched piece, and iron it well, and then mark the center, and then you've got to decide how much area you want to see around it. And I decided that this one would be good at 6.5 by 9. So that's what I've marked this. I've got my centers marked here, and then I marked this so I'll know when I'm lacing I have a good line to follow. You want to use a removable pin. You probably won't need to remove it, but if you do, just in case, yeah. So I use these friction pins. I'm not crazy about them for that because they do leave a white line sometimes, but we're going to put this kind of cording around the edge anyway, so it'll cover up that line if it does leave one.
Okay. Yeah, and I don't know about you, but sometimes I buy these and then by the time I use them, they don't work. Does that happen to you?
Well, yeah,
I don't know.
They dry up eventually.
Good thing they're not really expensive,
Yeah, that's
right?
true.
Yeah. So just if that happens to you, don't worry. It happens to all of us. And I had like a wide range of colors, and then like I want to use the green one because I'm marking something green, I'm stitch green, and then it doesn't work. So then I have to use pink.
I wish the clover pin people, if you're watching, the clover chalk pin people, make different colors. Because I love those clover pins, and they always iron off, no problem.
The liquid chalk ones. So that's our favorite, Okay. Maybe we'll bring that up to them.
Okay. So to make this, you need 5 pieces of mat board. And mat board you can buy in the craft area or the framing area of Joann's or Michael's or somewhere like that. It's not too expensive. Comes in a sheet. I actually order mine from Amazon, and it comes in a sheet that's this big. Okay. And that way I can just cut the sizes I need.
Yeah, and maybe we'll do a follow-up post to this, and we'll put all the links in for everything that we talked about.
Yeah, that'd be great. So we need 5 pieces. My piece is 6.5 by 9 is what I decided I want to make. So to cut the mat board, you just need to keep your old rotary cutter. And when you've got a dull blade, use that for mat board and paper.
Yeah, don't use your brand new sharp rotary blade.
So I'm just measuring out 6.5 by 9. Make sure I've got that. And when you're cutting mat board, it doesn't cut all the way through the first time. So you'll need to take a couple
Couple swipes.
Couple swipes, and my blade's really getting dull. So when you're assembling this, you need, the reason you need 5, we're putting, yeah, that's just extra. We're putting 2 behind our laced piece, and then we'll put, you'll have 1 for the back, 1 for the other side of the back, and 1 for the other side of the front. So that's why you need 5. 1, 2, 3, and then 4, 5.
I was going to let you explain it. I'm like, oh, 5, huh?
And 4 of these I've sprayed with this light adhesive, this is just multi-purpose spray adhesive, and it's supposed to be great stuff.
Like Elmer's,
so,
huh?
yeah.
Okay. We'll get that.
So I've sprayed that, and I'm going to stick 2 of these together, and that'll be the piece that I lace this onto. And
so
then
that's a double layer.
Yeah, I need my double stick tape. It's
okay. All right here. I'm the surgical nurse.
Right.
The stitch nurse.
So now I'm just putting a piece of double stick tape on this to put some batting on. I like to put a little piece of batting behind my piece because it just gives it a little place for the knots to go and just keeps it looking nicer, I think.
And it's super thin, right? Like,
right. Well, this is just regular batting. It's just regular 80-20 batting that's left over.
It looks thinner than that.
Well, it's Quilter's Dream. It's a fairly thin
yeah.
batting. And then I just stick it to my mat board, and then I'm going to just use your good rotary cutter then to just trim around the edges. That's easier than cutting it ahead of time and trying to fit it to the mat board.
So right to the edge of the cardboard all the way around?
Right.
Okay. No more tape?
Not for now.
Okay. It's so fun to be able to show everybody how to finish their projects.
It is. I learned to do this from a couple people. I watch a lot of tutorials when I'm stitching, and I learned to lace from Nicola at Hands Across the Sea Samplers, and I learned to make the flat folds from Vanna Pfeiffer, who I think we talked about the last time I had a video. She's the Twisted Stitcher on YouTube, and she has a number of really excellent finishing videos. So, you know, if you want to learn some great finishing techniques, check her out. It's the Twisted Stitcher. So
we're all about talking about who's doing stuff.
Right, yeah, and
Share the love.
I use a lot of her techniques. So now I'm just going to place this on here, and I've got good lines so I can see where my mat board should be.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like you got it.
So I'm more or less centering that, and so now I'm ready to lace. And so I'm taking upholstery thread. It's just a really good strong thread, and we'll use it just as a single strand. And you don't have to we'll have to join more to this as we're going along because one strand won't be enough, and I'll show you how to join it. So to start your lacing, just take, a knot really won't work because it'll pull through. So I just take about 3 stitches. Let me get back up here in camera range. Take about 3 stitches like that. Okay. And then you just go up to the other side and take about 1/4 inch stitch. Pull that through. So we're just lacing it like you would lace up a turkey when you make one at Thanksgiving, you know? If you do that.
Oh, did I just yank her?
I don't know, I think so. And now I'm keeping an eye kind of on these lines too, hopefully. So this line is right on the edge. This line should be on the edge too. They don't necessarily have to be exactly on the edge, but they need to be the even amounts if they're not.
So you get it in the center.
Right.
Yeah. So when you take your cross stitch to the frame shop, this is what they do to them? They lace them?
Sometimes my my framer pins and tapes, which I've never done it that way. I've always pinned and left the pins in.
Yeah, you'd think this would take a long time, but look at, you're half done already.
It does. I mean, it can be fussy, but it doesn't have to be.
Yeah.
Now I'm starting to run out of thread.
So what do you do?
So pull off another long piece.
You have no scissors.
And what you do then is you just put these two ends together, like so, and tie it in an overhand knot with the pieces together. So just an overhand knot like that. Hopefully I can get both tails at the same time. Let's start over on that.
We were talking about our eyesight right before we came on
Yeah.
camera, and how we're starting to see different things, and sometimes our eyesight isn't as good as it used to be. So.
Right. So I've just got the two pieces together, and I'm going to tie them in an overhand knot like that, with both of them together.
Simple.
Like that. And then I can just thread my needle and keep going. We could have probably used a little longer piece, but that's okay.
We didn't measure.
We may get to do this again. Then when you go to pull your knot through, you'll just have to work it through the fabric. That usually isn't an issue.
Like that.
Yeah.
I think we can make it.
Yep.
Although it does eat up a lot of thread, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. But you want to use this good strong upholstery thread because it really doesn't break. I wouldn't try this with quilting thread really, because I think you know when we're stretching it, then it would break, and that would just be frustrating. The nice thing about lacing is you're not hurting anything. So if you get it all done and you decide the whole thing's off center, or I wish I had done it a different size, all you got to do is clip your threads and you're back to where you were.
Yeah, because you didn't cut anything away.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, so now I want to look at the front, and my lines are pretty good. One is just barely inside this edge, and this one's just barely inside this edge. And top is there, bottom is there, so I'm happy with that. So now I need to start tightening them. So you just start at the end that you started at, and just pull each one successively, hanging on to the one you just did. And that just tightens it nicely.
That's cool.
Yeah. And then as you go along, of course, you know, this one that I'm holding up is getting longer because it's all the slack from all the others. Now here's this knot, so
You gotta work
I'm going to
around
have
that.
to work him through.
You went through easy the first time.
Yep. And the goal here is just to get it nice and tight without, you don't want to, if this thing starts to curve, you've
too
overdone it a little. All right, so now that's tight. This is nice and flat, and my edges are,
Perfect.
you know, perfect. Yeah, so I'm happy with that. If I wasn't, I could go ahead and stretch it a second time.
Does that happen sometimes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a pretty frequent
And then
occurrence,
you knot
actually.
that end?
No, you just take it here and then take it like 3 or 4 stitches.
Okay.
A knot really, as you can see, the knots just pull right through this fabric.
So like
And especially,
tacks.
yeah, just kind of tack it. And I've got a real short end, so it's coming unthreaded.
Of course.
The needle we're using is just a regular wool applique needle. You can use any needle for this technique. It just needs to be big enough that you know you can see to thread it and get that upholstery thread through it easily. Maybe one more. Could have really left myself a little more, couldn't I? This is like wool applique. You always need 2 inches more of thread than you left. Okay, so now we're ready to do the other way. So to do that, we're just going to fold it up and kind of angle this in just a bit.
corners?
Yep, so those corners are in. Fold that up, and we'll fold the top down, and we'll do the same type of lacing back and forth on that. So I'm just starting the same way with my...
Yeah, it's super long thread this
Yeah.
time. Yeah, I see that. And are you, when you're tacking that, are you hitting the one below it too now?
No,
Okay.
I'm trying just to get in this top 2,
Okay.
or the top folds
Yeah.
here. if you get through, it's not the end of the world, but really then when you're lacing,
it
it's going to
tight,
pull
yeah.
it a funny way.
Right, yeah, no, that's
So,
what I wanted to know,
yeah.
like try to avoid
Yeah.
getting that bottom one in.
So then
So you know, like the binding clips, would that help at all?
they
or-
might, yeah. One
Okay.
of the gals yesterday was saying that, and yeah, that might work.
Yeah,
do you
especially like
have
those
any
little-
on you? I don't.
I'm sure we have some over there somewhere. Do you know what we're talking about, Kaylee? Our little favorite little clips that we use for everything? Papers and just about anything. You
Yeah,
brought
that-
your whole kitchen sink here with
I
all
did. I
this
really
stuff,
did.
so-
Yeah. You never know what you might need when you're
Yeah.
framing. Your biggest problem when you're doing this lacing is the thread wants to wrap around the corners and get caught. So you got to keep watching for that.
Okay. So yeah, I think these things might help a little bit
Yep,
to
they
hold
might.
things in place.
Yeah.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
Those things are so versatile.
They really are. They're
And
handy.
they're so cute. Like I buy them in every
Yeah.
size and every color and
One other thing, I use this tool a lot. When I'm lacing, I like to push it in there just to get everything flat so that it's not
right. This
kind
is
of.
a Hera marker,
Yes.
and I use that for marking quilting lines.
I use it a lot in framing, and I don't know if I've ever used it in quilting. but-
Yeah. So what I use this for is to score your quilt, and then you just do your straight line quilting on it. That's what I use that for. But it has multiple uses now
Right.
that I see.
Yes, it does.
Right.
Well, and it's going to get used as a glue scraper here when we do the next step.
Multiple uses.
So yeah, you definitely want a Hera marker probably for this, or some kind of a
Even a knife.
plastic tool
Yeah,
that you can
even a plastic
do this.
knife would work too.
And I'm going to have to add more
Add
thread
more?
again.
All right.
I'm going to give myself a lot this time. So once again, we just put these two together and do a good knot.
That was easy.
Yeah. Yeah, this knot thing works a whole lot better than I thought it would when I first heard about it. I thought, yeah, that's always going to, get stuck there, but it really doesn't.
Put this one on the side.
Yep. Let's just run that in there to make that nice and flat. This is like quilting. You always have one corner that just doesn't want to do
Isn't
it.
as perfect
Yeah,
as the
it
rest.
just doesn't want
Three
to.
of them are perfect and
Right.
one is not. All right.
Just doesn't want to play well with the others. This extra long thread is kind of awkward, but then I won't have to add more again. It's really hard to judge how much thread this is going to take. All right, so I'm to the end here. It's wrapped around everything. So now let's take these clips off and take a look at see where we are line-wise. This line is right along the edge, so I'm happy with that. This line is it's inside a little bit, but it's straight at least. Mm-hmm. And for applique, wool applique on fabric, it's not quite as critical that your lines as they are on cross stitch. The cross stitch, if you get off a line, it's really very evident. So on this one, when I'm stretching, I'm going to try to pull this top down a little bit,
That's
just a little bit in.
Okay.
So I'll just pull that down and start.
So you're going to have more tension on this side
Yep.
than on the end. Okay.
And so that ought to just solve all my problems, right?
All right. Not that they're big problems, but.
Okay, so
Yeah.
that's pretty good. So I'm happy with how even that is on, you know, side to side and top to bottom. So I'm just going to do this again, tack another 3 stitches, and I think it's tight enough. You really kind of want it where when you do that, it, you know, it doesn't move too far.
Or goes back to where it was.
Right.
Yeah.
But like I said, not so tight that you're bowing your
Cardboard.
So there we go. So now, once you've got it to this point, it's ready to do whatever with next. And we can either make it into a flat fold like this. We could mount it onto a larger piece of fabric if you wanted to do a clipboard or something like that.
Kind of like a mat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or if you have a picture frame that's really too big for your piece and you don't want to just have this fabric all the way out to the edge, you can make something like this and kind of use it as a mat behind your
Right,
picture.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you don't.
I think,
you
did
don't
we
have
do
to-
that on one of these? We've done it on a couple, really. And this is a flat fold with that kind of technique too.
Yeah. This one doesn't have a mat.
No,
On it, right?
no.
Right.
So we'll go ahead now and make our flat fold. I just wrecked Kaylee's display there. So what you want is, I picked this purple fabric from Garden Gatherings to use for the
beautiful.
back. You want 2 pieces that are about 1.5 inches larger than your than this piece all the way around. And that measurement doesn't have to be real perfect. It just, you know, you want enough that when you pull it over to glue, you've got enough to grab. So you want 2 pieces like that, and 1 piece that is about 1.5 inches bigger on these 2 sides, and then about 3 or 4 on the top. And that's the part we're going to pull down and make the flat fold so that it folds out. Okay.
I have no idea how you're going to do this. I'm
Okay.
very interested.
So I'm going to take one of my pieces here, and so the first thing we're going to do is take our piece of mat board that we've sprayed with the spray adhesive, this just this all-purpose adhesive spray, lay it face down on this, and then we're going to take our rotary cutter and ruler and kind of cut the corners off, and what that does is just reduce the bulk when we're gluing. So I'm putting the 1/4 inch line of my ruler just on the edge, and this doesn't have to be real perfect.
So it doesn't have to be a perfect 45.
No, it
just
doesn't
as
have
you
to be a
cut it at
perfect
an
45.
angle.
We're just getting rid of some of this extra fabric. My adhesive is not sticking real well, is it? I did it too soon. You really have to do that adhesive right before you're ready to use it.
So much for prepping ahead.
Yeah,
right?
really.
Bites you sometimes. There you go.
Yeah, I could do a little better, couldn't I?
Yeah, I was like, whoa, that's a very isosceles triangle there. Well, I thought you were going to just prove a point.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
So now I've gotten a 1/4 inch all the way around here. I'm going to take my glue and just run a line down these 2 sides and pull that in and stick it down. And here's where you want to have a wet washcloth available because you'll get glue on you. That's okay. This is Aleene's tacky glue. It dries clear and washes off while it's still wet. Okay.
And you're storing it upside down?
This was
in
one of
this-
the best techniques Vanna ever taught me, was keep your glue upside down in a pot, and that way you're not constantly shaking it to get it to the bottom.
Or it doesn't dry out and you have to
Right.
like dig it out. I have to do that every time I bind a quilt and put a sleeve on the back. I use glue to temporarily glue down
yeah.
one part of the sleeve so it doesn't get caught.
So now you just pull this in, and you'll need to kind of keep your fingernail in the corner here to get this corner good and square. And just kind of get your fingernail in there and kind of just do that number.
Tuck them in there nice
Tuck
and
them in
tight.
there, yeah. And here's where this hero marker works well too.
Better than
I'm
your
getting glue all
fingers,
over
right?
me.
Because it's very thin.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's
Look at it, Steve,
that
you
one.
don't even need to clip
Yeah,
it.
no, once you stick it down into the glue, it's pretty good.
Okay.
Let's see if I can do this corner a little more adroitly.
It's that one corner again, right?
Yeah.
Three lay down
Right.
nice and one is a
That's
pain.
okay. Some of them are going to be up in the fold of the thing when we do it, and
Yeah.
so that is one piece, and it looks pretty good. The corners are okay when you
Nice
turn it
and
over.
tight,
Yeah,
yeah.
yep. And so we're going to just set that aside and let it dry for a little bit. Do the others same way. This is the one I got glue on, and I shouldn't have, but that's okay. You may have some glue on your rotary cutter, rotary ruler.
It washes off.
Yeah.
Sure, now it sticks, right?
Yeah, really. I have tried to stick these on with glue before on the other side, but I don't like that because it kind of leaves a lump. So that's why I use the spray adhesive.
There you go. We could have gotten a smaller ruler.
Yeah, really.
All right, you got all the
All right,
corners
I've
trimmed?
got all my corners trimmed, so I'm just going to do the same thing I did on the last one. We're going to do, I do the long sides first. I don't know if that's a rule, but it's my rule, I guess.
Yeah, you can do it however you want.
That's right.
I can see where cutting out those corners makes a big
Yeah,
help
it
with
just
the bulk.
really reduces that bulk in the corners.
Yeah.
Helps a lot. Your main thing you're going on is just a nice square corner without anything sticking out over the edge here.
Mm-hmm.
And I apologize for the mess I make with glue, but I am not good with liquids.
It all washes up.
It
We'll
does,
wash the
yeah.
mat off and the
Yep.
tools off when we're done. You could have set aside just tools for framing and finishing.
All right. So it's kind of a gluey mess on the back, but it doesn't matter because the front looks fine.
Yep.
So those are the two inside pieces. And now this other piece that we did, we left longer, and that'll be the part that wraps over the top. So I've got one more piece of the mat board. I'll put it down here. I'm just going to leave 1.5 inches on the sides and the bottom, and I'm going to trim only the bottom two for this.
Leaving that 1/4 inch.
Leaving
Don't
that
forget
1/4
that
inch,
1/4
yep.
inch.
And if it's not an exact 1/4, that's okay. I wouldn't do less than 1/4
Yeah,
though.
right. Yeah.
So now for this one, we'll do these two sides and the bottom, and we're leaving the top loose. And when you're gluing these, you go clear to the edge, you know, even though you're on the fabric, because you really want it to stick down well.
So much
Fold that in a little bit.
fun making these when you know you
Yeah.
have different options of finishing.
Right.
Other than just a hoop.
Well, and this one, this is actually so easy, really.
Yeah,
You know,
it's not hard at all.
No,
It's just knowing all the
knowing
steps and,
and
what
knowing
to
the
do in order.
tools, you know, what you
Yeah.
need.
Yeah.
The other thing we need to do, this will be the back of the flat fold, and it has a ribbon across the bottom, and that's how it determines how narrow or wide you it opens more if you have the ribbon
Show them
longer.
that really close. So some of the ribbon that you get on your fat quarter towers or your bundles, you've recycled that, right?
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
It works great.
Is this the whole bin of ribbon?
That's a whole bin of ribbon, yes.
So look at her little supply here she has of all kinds of ribbons. Isn't that cool?
Yeah, I like
Different widths and different colors.
I go to the craft stores after a holiday. So like after Easter, they have a lot of like these colors.
Yeah.
And
And I'm
this
sure
is
they're
good
50%
for,
off and
yeah,
or
right.
even more.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I have a lot of Christmas, as you can see. You can always find Christmas. So what we want to do on this ribbon is we want to place it in the back here before we start assembling. So I'm going to find my center of this, and this is 6.5, so 3 1/4. So right here is my center, and I'm just going to run a line of glue up that and stick my ribbon in there, and that way it'll be between these layers when it's all
So
assembled.
about a couple inches at
Yeah,
least.
a couple inches. I cut my ribbon 6 inches. That leaves a couple inches here, a couple inches for the opening, and then a couple inches to put in the front. I'm going to pull that down just a bit. All right, so now we're ready to start assembling it. So this is the back. Has a head and a tail, so you can remember that for the back. So I'm going to really put some glue on this.
Look at all that glue.
And what
Now
you want
I know
to
why you have to have the big one.
Yeah, what you want to do with the glue is just kind of spread it out. You could use a brush for this if you want, but fingers work great.
Sometimes, yeah, the fingers work just as well. And then you don't have to wash out the brush.
Right.
If it was at my house, the kids would let it get hard.
Right.
That's why you buy those little foam ones.
Right. And then you want it to just be clear to the edge, but not so much glue that it'll squish out when you put them together. So that looks pretty good. So now I'm going to take one of my other pieces and just layer that right on there and unglue myself and press it down. So now that's the back, and then this will be the part that flips over, and this will be the bottom. All right, then I put my other, this is the inside of the back, this one will be the inside of the front, so it'll go under that one.
Okay.
The thing how you can remember this, you're never gluing the pretty sides together.
Right.
So you'll lay the pretty sides together like this, and then do your glue. So now this one, before we put this front on, we need to pull this over and make that. Yeah, now it makes sense.
Wait a minute, how is this working?
So what we're going to do,
joining them together. Okay.
we're going to really give ourselves a decent amount of glue here. And for this part, you want to even put a little glue clear up on the top here. And then down the sides. This stuff that's in the middle, you don't have to really spread out because it'll be
squish
fine.
and it won't come out.
Then just angle this a little bit and pull it down and just really stretch it and pull it into that glue and squish it across the top here. You've got your glue there, so that'll hold it. So you want to really, pull it tight. All right. So see, so far we've got back and a front, kind of, so we're almost done.
Now I can see it.
Yeah.
Now I know. That wasn't hard at all.
No.
I thought it was going to take a lot more
it isn't
time
hard.
than that.
Yeah. And really,
It's so
the
pretty with-
lacing takes the most amount of time.
And that wasn't even hard.
No.
And then you can really change up the look of everything with whatever fabric you put
Right.
with it. So that's
You can really
amazing.
accent. My sides here are kind of wanting to stick out a little, so fix that.
all
So
right.
now we're going to put a bunch of glue.
So
This is where you forget your kindergarten just a dot, not a lot thing, because we're not doing it that way.
So is there any reason why you don't use hot glue?
Well, I don't know if it would dry clear. And I guess you could, I suppose.
Excuse me. I just don't know, you know what I mean? 'Cause
Yeah.
I have a lot of hot glue at home and I just
It would be
wonder-
hard to get the hot glue to the edge because you couldn't touch it.
Yeah, okay. I got to ask all the questions.
Right,
you
that's
know.
fine. And now, before we put our front on, we need to glue the rest of this up. So I like to leave about 2 1/4 inches probably on my ribbon. So I'm going to go to about there. And that'll be the edge.
Nice opening.
Yeah,
And you just right that 2 1/4 is just right
Yep,
at the end.
right.
Okay.
yeah. And we'll have a chance to fix that if we don't like it before this glue sets up. So we're going to put that right there. And got glue on the front. If you get any glue on the front, wipe it up quick because, you know, once it dries, it'll dry clear, but it'll be there.
Leave a mark, yeah.
So now I might want to just take my little marker and make sure
some tucks.
my edges are nicely tucked in there. See how that's kind of sticking out just a little. Although that we're going to cover that anyway with the, we'll make a cord and cover that. So that looks pretty good and sets up like.
Test your opening.
Test the ribbon.
That's perfect.
Like that?
Yep.
Yep. So we're done. Just like that. Now the last step is to put it in a plastic bag. Can you hand me that? Mm-hmm. And this is just to protect the piece and protect anything around it while it's gluing. So we'll put it in a plastic bag and then put it under something really heavy, like a tote of fabric or a pile of books or something like that.
Iron.
Yeah, and that'll really smash it down and get the glue set. So we'll take that in the other room and put it under something.
Okay.
Let that glue set up while we do our next thing.
Okay. All right, next up for finishing is another technique called pinning.
Right.
And this involves a frame. So I just want to point out that we do have a couple options for framing. You can order any size opening frame from us at Primitive Gatherings. We just need to know this measurement here that you want open and how wide you want the frame. And then the next option would be is color. And you don't have to have it distressed, or if you want us to make it distressed looking, we can do that as well. So the options are many, you just need to tell us what you like. So Scott's made you this frame, right?
Is that on the website or do we email? Or?
Yeah, you can do it however is easy. We do have them on the website, but sometimes you like to talk to somebody.
Right.
So you can just always call our customer service at 920-722-7233, and they will take that down and talk you into everything so you don't miss an option. But I know you can order them right on the website too as well.
Okay.
Okay.
So Scotty's made me this frame. I'm going to frame this little cross stitch, and this is one of Katie Nolan's patterns that's quilt related. So I thought that would look good in this black frame. So I asked for a frame with a 6.5 inch opening. My piece is 5 inches square, so 6.5 will give 3/4 of an inch all the way around. So this frame has just right at 6.5, and then when you turn it over, frames, the way they're constructed, they always have this little lip in the back, and that's called a rabbet. So if you see something that says it's a 1/4 inch rabbet, that's what they're talking about. So that's what these are. So our foam core that we cut is going to have to be about 7 1/4.
Okay. See if it fits? Yep.
Yep.
All right.
So Scotty, actually, does he always?
He doesn't always, but if you ask for it, we can add that to it.
Okay. So this is 7 1/4, and I'll probably want to trim that down just a little bit because since we're wrapping fabric around it, we don't want this to be too tight.
Yeah, it'll take up a little thickness. Yeah.
So let's just trim that a little bit. Now this is foam core. It's different than the mat board that we just used on the last thing. Foam core is kind of like, it's a hard paper or cardboard on the outside, and then it has a 1/4 inch of foam in the center. And for cutting foam core, it comes in a big sheet, and you get that also at the just in the framing department.
Mm-hmm. Scotty cuts it with his saw.
Yeah, I cut mine with my rotary cutter.
Yeah.
And this, again, you have to do a couple cuts. It doesn't cut all the way through the first time, but that's okay. Usually the first cut goes through the top layer. Oh,
And
man,
usually the bigger blade helps too, doesn't it?
yeah, it does.
Wanna do this one?
Well, that's your good one. It'll wreck the blade.
Yeah.
Chewing the edge off here.
Your blade is pretty dull, isn't it?
It is, yeah. It's gone through a lot of mat board lately.
So just 2 sides or
Yeah,
all 4 sides?
I'm just taking off about maybe a 1/16 of an inch.
Yeah, not quite an eighth, but
Right. Just enough that I'll have space for my fabric to wrap around it. This one's going a lot better
yeah.
for some reason.
All right, I'll grab that.
All right, so now I have my piece of mat board, and once again I'm going to put a piece of batting behind my my stitched piece, and I just think it gives it a nice finished look. So I'm going to put just a piece of double stick tape on that, stick it down on here, and then trim around it with the rotary cutter. When you're framing, you want to use the acid-free products as much as you can too. So you want to look for the acid-free mat board and the acid-free double stick tape.
So it lasts
It
200
lasts,
years instead of
yeah.
100?
That way my stuff can look good in the thrift store after I'm dead.
Yeah, right. When our kids sell it all at the rummage sales.
All right, we want it to look good.
We know it's inevitable,
It
right?
is. Well, yeah, they can't possibly keep all this stuff,
Yeah.
right? Nor would they want to. So when you're stitching and, you know, when you're planning out your stitching and how big your fabric is going to be and everything, you want to allow at least 1.5 to 2 inches for framing. So, you know, take that into consideration when you cut your piece in the first place.
Can I ask you a question? Why do you have those stitching lines on your cross stitch?
We're going to talk about that.
Oh, okay.
That is, I've made a basting line 3/4 of an inch from each edge.
Okay.
And so that's perfectly square then inside this. And that'll help me keep my line straight when I'm pinning.
So instead of marking like you did
Instead
on
of
the
marking,
Okay.
for cross stitch, it's really easier to baste because when you're looking at this, you know, maybe that's 12 threads.
That weave is very fine. Yeah.
Right, but you're used to looking at the threads in cross stitch, so you just, you know, count 12 threads and then it's 12 all the way around or whatever the count is.
Okay.
So now I'm going to put that on here and I'm going to center it. And I've got these, I really don't have to go too crazy measuring my center lines because I've got this basted and I can see exactly where this is. And now the basting doesn't have to necessarily be right at the edge. We're just using it to keep things straight, and we'll pull the basting out.
Or it might
before
even
we're
be
done.
in the
Right.
edge. Yeah.
Right. I did it so it's 6.5 and you know, this piece is 7 1/4.
Right. So we're gonna have to pull it probably.
Right. So to pin, start out, and actually here we could use those little clips again maybe.
Okay, right here.
Just to kind of keep things together.
Ooh, I'm not doing very good at cleaning up our spot here.
That's all right. So I'm paying attention that my lines are an even amount top and bottom and an even amount from the sides, and I may have to adjust that as we go along. So I'm using Sequin Pens, and that is, they're just 3/4 inch Sequin Pens. And you can find those usually in the beading section. And they're pretty inexpensive. I use a lot of them on this to pin, so, you know.
Do they
that's
stay
important.
in?
Yes.
Okay.
So I'm going to put one right in the center of each side. And I'm kind of pulling the fabric a little bit as I do that, because I want it all centered. And when you're putting the pins in, make sure to get them straight in, because if you put them in at an angle, then when you push them in, they're going to come through the front.
That foam,
Yeah,
you don't want them going through the paper, just the foam.
right.
Yeah.
Right, so my lines look pretty good. So now I'm going to just put a pin in about every inch at first. And don't push the pins in yet.
I want to though.
I know you do. But if you do, and then you have to change your mind, they're really hard to get out.
Okay.
And so this way, we'll put them in, and then once we're satisfied with the stretching that we've done, then we'll push them all the way in.
We'll link this cross stitch to the video in case you really like this, because I really love.
Yeah.
Katie did one for me in gray, and it's beautiful. So you pick your favorite color. I seen her; she had them in aqua, and gray, and red, and I think Val had one in a different color too, purple. I think, because Val loves purple.
Yeah. She has several good.
She does, isn't it? I love
quilt related.
I love the ones that she did in our boxes too, our quilt boxes that we have every other month. She does a cute little one in there, and you can use those techniques. So I think this was one of them from one of the, no, this was a free one on her site.
That was the free one, the freebie on her site, yes, that we used in the cross stitch video.
Yeah, yeah. But you could do that with the ones in the boxes as well. And I'm like really, I really want to do the cross stitch thing, but I don't want to be like, do the whole scene. I love little simple stuff like this. Hopefully I could see that though. This was, no wonder your eyes are going weird.
Yeah.
Is that linen?
Yes.
So you go over to...
I have to use a magnifying glass.
Okay.
Magnifiers for that. But it's worth it.
Yeah, I bet. You just look a little goofy if somebody would come in, right?
Well, yeah.
Like the miner's hat with the shield that comes down
Yeah,
with the magnifier on it.
I told Kaylee last time not to show that on the video, and she did.
Oh, well. We all want to know. We all want to know.
We are what we are, right?
Yeah, it is what it is.
This one's not quite straight, so I'm going to pull it a little further, stretch it just a little bit
There you go, yep.
this side so that I've got straight lines.
So pretty much when you get to that fourth side, you might have to...
Might have to adjust a little. And here too, if you get to this and you're just not happy with how straight everything is, you can just pull out those pins and readjust. You can be as fussy as you want with some of this stuff. I try not to drive myself too crazy.
No, these are awesome finishing options other than just a frame and a mat.
Well, it's nice to be able to frame some things yourself. I took a cross stitch to the framer the other day, and it'll be $200 to have it framed. It was a big one, and I'm willing to pay that for a big one that I've spent a year on, but something like this,
Yeah.
It's just a cute little thing to have out for maybe Valentine's Day and Christmas, and so I don't want to spend a lot to have it framed. So buying a frame and doing it myself is my option.
I actually think it's cooler to do the fabrics and to do all that kind of stuff.
And it's not perfect here. If I was at home and not doing this for the camera and everything, I would probably unpin it, move it over just a little bit, because you can see I've got a little extra space over here compared to here. But I think for today we're going to go with it. Okay. So now I'm going to put a pin in between all these pins.
Ooh. So now
I've got a pin about every half inch, and then
can we push them in now yet?
Yeah, soon. I think Lisa wants to push these pins in.
Right?
I've pinned all the way around. I'm pretty happy with this. The main thing on cross stitch especially is you need to make sure these lines are straight, because it's very obvious with an open weave like this. With something like fabric, it's not so much, but cross stitch, it's pretty important. So I'm happy with it. It's not quite centered as well as I would like, but I think I can probably move it in the frame a little bit and it'll be fine. Trying to get one in the corner here. Okay, so now we can push all these pins in. So you want to do that?
Yeah.
I usually use my hero marker for that. Oops. And there again, you just want to make sure that the pins are going straight in, and there you go.
All right. This is the fun part.
It is.
Take a break, Kathy. I'll do this part. You deserve it. Oh. Oh, I see why. Okay.
Yeah, you could use a little hammer if you wanted, but this here marker works great for this.
Yeah, it does. I'd see why you need to use something though, because that kind of hurts your fingers.
Mm-hmm.
I got a rhythm now.
These pins are real fine and they have a real small head on them, so yeah, they do hurt your fingers a little if you have to do too much with them.
It's a race. We should have Olympics for sewing. Who can do it the fastest? All right.
So now we're ready to put this in the frame. Now this, which side was it that I was not, well actually they ended up pretty,
They look good.
Pretty decent. This side is a little bit
yeah.
big. So I'm gonna, when I put it in the frame, I'm going to try to push it the other way a little bit.
Oh, it looks good.
So that looks pretty good. We'll probably need to take out our basting thread because I can see it.
Yep, I
So
can see it too. What's the fastest way to do that?
just grab it with a needle, pull.
No knots.
No knots. When I baste, I don't put any knots, so that when you go to pull it out, it's
Wow,
really
it comes
easy.
out really nice.
Yeah. This basting does take a little time.
What did you use for basting? Did you use
Just
that thread?
anything. I think
Okay.
I had quilting thread at the time,
Okay.
but really you can use anything for that. You can
Anything that shows up contrast,
kind of
right?
see where it is, but I think that'll relax.
Yeah.
So now I'll just put this in the frame and take a look at it. I have a lot of extra stuff here, but I'm not going to worry about that because I'm covering it up. So what do we think? Pretty good?
Yes, it's gorgeous.
So now you need to do something to hold it into the frame. So you can use these little glazer's points. That's these. And to use those, you put them right here and you push them in with a flat screwdriver.
Mm-hmm.
Or you can use these little turn buttons where you nail them here and turn it. But I have a point driver.
Oh, I have one of those too. I was going to say that. What I use
It's
is
great.
these
Yeah.
are amazing.
They
so
are.
if you can get one on sale, that's when I
Yeah.
would get one.
It works just like a stapler. You just put it down and squeeze, and it just drives that point right in there. And I usually put 2 per side on a piece this size. If it was a big piece, I'd probably do a little more. Yeah, if you're going to do much framing at all, this is worth the investment.
So instead of paying $200 to get it framed, you just buy all the tools.
I just did it, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, but if you're going to do a lot of them.
Yeah. Oh,
Oops,
missed.
that one didn't go. You kind of have to push down a little.
Yep.
But you can't go in at an angle, I found out, because then that makes the thing jam.
Mm.
Let's see if I can get that one a little better.
Pull that one back out.
Yeah, throw that away. So now it's in there. Looks pretty good. So now let's make the back look better.
All right. How are we doing that?
We're going to take the double stick tape, which, did I leave it?
Yeah, I think right there.
And I'm going to put a piece all the way around the edge, just right at the edge. So I've got a piece of double stick tape on that side. Put a piece, and I'm going right almost to the edge. Can I grab the scissors?
Yep. There you go.
So now the double stick tape is all the way around. And I'm going to kind of just stick it down. And I'm going to take craft paper. You could use scrapbook paper if you have that. We're just doing this so that it covers up the back. Lay it down on there and press down really well. And then I'm going to just slice around that to I don't have this whole roll to deal with. I learned this in a framing class years ago, and it's just been great. You turn it over, fold the edges down so that you can see where they are, and at the same time you're pressing it into your double stick tape really well. So now I've kind of creased the edge so I can see it. Just put your rotary mat right, or your cutter ruler right on the edge, and just
About 1/8 of an inch in.
Yep, about 1/8 of an inch in. And cut all the way around. And you can see where the edge is because you've folded around the edge of your frame. I love this part because you do it.
I know, it's like instant gratification, right? It's done,
and it looks really kind of professional.
It does, yeah.
If you don't want to cut on your frame, if you have a metal frame or something, you can always just cut this out the right size and try to match it up. But that's kind of a hard thing to
this
do.
way, yeah.
And voila, there we have it. I got a wrinkle in it, but that's okay. It's
Well,
on the
that's what
back.
happens when you do it on camera.
Yeah, that's right.
It never can be like exactly perfect.
So there we are, we're framed.
That's
so now
beautiful.
the last step is just to put a little hanger on the top. So one of those hangers with the teeth, probably for this size. And then if you have a really big one, you'd need the hangers that have the eye bolts that you put in there and then have a wire that go between them.
Yeah.
But I think for this size of a thing, just the little one with the serrated teeth.
That was
work.
really awesome because it wasn't hard at all.
No.
And it look how good it is.
Yeah, it looks great.
Yes, it looks amazing.
Could be slightly straighter, but you know, for on camera, it's fine.
It's on the fly.
Yeah.
Yeah, you did good. No pressure at all, right?
That's right.
Everybody's always a little nervous when we're on
Right.
camera, but awesome.
So the only other thing we haven't talked about is maybe making cording
Yeah.
for our
So part 3, we're going to do cording.
part 3.
Okay.
So the cording we're talking about is just this this cord that goes around the outside of your flat fold.
Twisted floss, right?
Right. Or you can use pearl cotton.
All right, part 3 is making cording. huh?
Right. And I'm going to make a cording for this little cross stitch that I made earlier in the year.
How cute it is. So the same.
I made a flat fold, and now I need to attach a cording all the way around the outside. And then I might want to make a small cording and put on the inside like I did on this one. It just kind of finishes that edge.
Yep, I agree.
So to make cording, you need this little Krennic cording maker. I think you have those here
Is
at
that
the
how you
store.
say that?
I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know.
Krennic, however you say it.
Cording maker.
Right. And some floss or pearl cotton. I've used 5 and 8 size of Baldani before too. The main thing is you need some long pieces to do this, and so you may not have enough floss. If you only have one skein, sometimes that's not enough. This is a real small thing, so one skein will do.
But when you do the bigger ones?
Right, when you do the bigger ones, I would probably use a ball of Baldani for that.
Oh, okay.
And it worked great. So to do that, you need to measure the outside of your flat fold. So mine is 3 by 4, so 3, 6, and 8's 14, right?
What's that?
I'm just measuring around the
all the way
outside.
around?
So yeah, it's 3 by 4,
All right. So 3, 3, 6, and 8 is 14. Yep.
right? And multiply that times 4.
14 times 4?
14 times 4. So it's something 6.
56. Can't do it in our head anymore.
Right. I don't even try. So we want
56.
several pieces of the embroidery floss that are 56 inches long each.
Okay.
And I think for this size, I'll use three pieces of the 6 strands.
Okay. So 3 56s.
3 56s. So let's
All right,
This
so why don't you
this
do
is
like
36 and
20?
20.
All right,
Okay.
and then
I
just
want to give myself a little
get
bit
a little
extra.
insurance.
Once-
Doesn't hurt, right?
Right. Once you've got the first one made. Now, one thing we need to tell people probably is when you're
Yeah.
doing DMC floss, pull from the end with the number on it because it doesn't,
Bunch up.
yeah.
I know, because I always pull
knot.
from the other side.
Right.
Like, why does
And
this always?
Yeah, if you just hang on to this little dealie, it usually works fairly
The
well.
number tag?
Yeah.
Here, I'll hold on for you.
Okay. So I'll make 3 pieces the same length.
Yeah, that pretty much almost uses the whole
Right.
thing. Got a little left.
Tie a good knot in one end.
I love doing this.
I know. It's kind of like magic, isn't it? And
Yeah.
hand that in to your assistant.
Or find something to
Right.
wrap it on, to hang out. Sometimes I use the thing on my bobbin winder on my sewing machine to hold on to it, because you can just loop that around there.
So I'm just making a good knot around the tool here. And then we need to stand far enough apart that we keep this tight. So that's a little bit of a challenge. And then you just start winding. And you'll wind until it starts to loop back in on itself.
There's a test we can do.
Right.
Your husband would be good at this if he's a fisherman.
Yeah.
All right, so so what we do is you just kind of
See
let
how-
it roll, and you see how it's not quite really tight yet. It's kind of a looser, right? So we want to do a little bit more to get it a little tighter. And you have to make sure you go the same direction so you don't unwind it.
This reminds me of my grandma's old mixer.
All right.
So then you take
Ooh, do you like it? Yep. All right.
the tool off and hang it right in the center of the 2 pieces, like this, and hang on to this top part. And then let go of the tool, and it'll start spinning. And you just let it spin until it stops. And once it gets to a certain point, it'll want to go the other way, and that's when you grab it.
Yeah, you just stop it and then unhook it. There you go.
And now at this point, it's done.
Isn't that
It
perfect?
doesn't
It
unwrap.
doesn't. Yeah, it's so beautiful and so easy, right?
And I'm tying a knot in the other end because the ends that are, this end was doubled because this is where the tool was. But this end, these 2 could come apart, so I put a knot in that. So now we'll glue it to our little piece, and hopefully it'll go all the way around. Let's see. If not, we start over and make it longer.
It's gonna make it. We did our math right. I don't know if we have enough to do that.
No, that would be a separate piece anyway.
Yeah, and then maybe not as thick if you're gonna do that. Well, that would look good.
Probably, maybe only two strands of the floss.
But there is no right or wrong,
No.
right?
So now we need our glue again. And I think, whoops.
You gotta show them that cute little bucket. I don't know if you showed them what you did on the front of that.
I didn't. Let's talk about that. Once you have your flat fold made, or your piece laced, instead of making a flat fold, you can just put magnets in the backing, and then you can attach it to a metal thing. I needed to use tougher magnets.
Right,
So
and
get
you
some-
can use 2 colors of floss to twist it like that as well.
Yes. So now, for this part, I need some glue and some of these little sequin pins again. And this is just Aleene's glue still, but it's just in a smaller container. So for this, I'm going to find the center of this cord, and I'm going to start in the bottom corner down here. So it'll wrap, this one will wrap up this way, this one will wrap up this way and
And
over.
where's your end gonna be?
It'll hang down and be a little tassel, like
Oh,
this
okay.
one.
Oh, all right. So unlike this one, you would start underneath, right?
Right.
And then go around that way.
If
Okay.
I was doing that, what I would do is when I'm gluing this one on, I would leave a spot down here unglued so that I can start and finish my cording
And
in that spot.
Shove it under?
Shove it under and then stick some glue in there.
Like with your awl or something?
Or my
Your
little hero
your
marker.
hair marker. I would think that would be harder to push in, but I guess if you use the point, yep.
So I'm just putting a little line of glue right in this spot between the, where the two join together with the glue.
crevice.
Right. And you're just tapping it in. You don't want to push it real far in that. You just want it right on the edge there. It helps to have a bottle with a thinner nozzle like this.
Like a little
I just
applicator.
bought some cheap bottles and put Aleene's glue in them.
Yeah, or Roxanne has that little applicator.
That would work. Yeah, that
Yeah.
one with the
little applicator on it, yeah.
I'm kind of getting glue all over this. It's not an ideal situation.
Oh, it looks good. Gotta make sure you don't glue the two pieces together.
Right. All right. So that's that. Now we'll put this one right across the top. And one thing I do also as I'm gluing these, I put a little sequin pin right in the corner, and that keeps the cording where you want it.
From moving, sliding, rolling.
And then you can just pull the cording out a little bit.
Do you ever take that pin out or just
Nope.
stay in there? Okay.
I leave it. That's why I need so many sequin pins, because I put them in everything and leave
Yeah,
them forever.
yeah, they're there forever. Okay.
I'm trying to get it in between the mat boards. If you get it, if it's going in the mat board, it's hard to push in. If it's between them, it's fairly easy. Not having a lot of luck with this one. I must have really done a great job gluing those together. Okay, guess that corner doesn't get one. I bent the pen.
Oh, wow. Only on camera does this happen, right? It never happens at home.
All this stuff sticking to my hands.
Having that wash rag there is really nice, though.
Yeah, that's an important part of my kit when I'm making these. This would have been a lot easier if I had done it right when my piece was first
Fresh.
finished.
Yeah, freshly wrapped.
I'm not,
Now it's just a
that
little
glue
hard.
is so hard, it's not going in there very well.
Right. More
This has been done since, well, St. Patrick's Day, give or take, so it's been waiting for its chance to be finished.
Yeah, we've kind of delayed this a couple times.
Well, it's hard to get everybody's schedule
Yeah,
together.
everybody's coming and going and vacations and stuff. But here we are.
So then when you get to this corner, we'll just tie a little knot right here. Maybe tie it twice to make it really pretty. And then I'll need to tie a knot in these so that they can unravel then and make a tassel. And I like to put those knots not even with each other, so one's a little longer.
Yeah, so it looks not so perfect, like planned, like, there you go, I like that.
And then just put them together and cut them about an inch.
Away?
I don't have an inch on that one. It'll be that far away. And then I take a
That's what the
toothbrush.
toothbrush was for. I'm like, what is
Right.
that toothbrush for?
and just fluff them up.
Oh,
So that's it for putting a cording on.
that looks so good. People are going to love this video.
So you have to fiddle with it a little. It's best if you put your cording on right after you've done your gluing. I've learned an important lesson today. I've never tried to do it a lot later. I always do it as I'm making the things
Okay, these ain't supposed to be together right there. Oh, I'm like, why are they sticking?
because there's
And then she
glue
put a
all over
little
everything.
charm on, this one, a little sheepy charm. So you can add a little embellishment as well.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's done. So
cute.
now let's unveil our, it's out of the smasher. There we go.
Perfect. Ready to put another cord around.
Now, I'm seeing my lines here, so I would probably take this over to the iron and just
Steam it off.
iron those lines off, and then I'd make a cord just like we did and put around the edge here, and
Yeah, so it would
Finish it
look
up.
like that. She's got a little hog on her flag quilt there. All right, so awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing all of your tips and tricks with us. We appreciate that. Now I have no confidence, or all the now I have all the confidence in the world to try this. But I didn't want to do it until she showed us how to do it. But thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Any added thing then? And
no,
No?
just go home and finish all the things.
finish all the ones that you got hanging around, and you have a bag full of them over here
One
too.
thing I thought that would be fun if somebody wants to do it, all these little minis from your book, your
Oh,
52
yeah.
minis, if you're having your
I think it's
stitching,
101 minis.
Well, yeah, I got 52 because I was
Yeah,
in the box, but
yeah.
then the book is 101. If you're having your stitching friends over, make these as little table favors.
Right, and
And
do them all at once, so not individual. Yeah, that looks really cool too.
that would be fun. So
Yeah.
somebody needs to do that and post it on Stitch with Lisa so I can see it.
All right. Awesome. So thanks for joining us today, and look for more videos from Kathy or Primitive Gatherings, and we'll be back with more. Take care, everyone.